Have you ever wondered why so many seniors experience sudden health crises just hours after waking up? What if I told you the most dangerous moment of your day might be the first 5 minutes of your morning? I'm Dr. Carson, a senior health specialist with 30 years of experience. And today, I'm revealing a critical truth every older adult needs to know before it's too late. Stay with me, because one simple morning habit could change the course of your health. Starting tomorrow. Let me tell you a truth most doctors won't say out loud. It doesn't matter how many pills you take, how healthy you think you eat, or even how many years you've been stable. If you're over 60 and you wake up one morning and feel just a little off, slightly dizzy, maybe slower than usual to sit up, it might already be too late. I don't say that to scare you. I say it because I've seen it too many times. I'm Dr. Carson. I've spent over 2 decades working in stroke prevention and geriatric care. And one thing still breaks my heart, even after all these years. It's the morning phone calls. The panicked daughter who says her father collapsed in the hallway after waking up. The neighbor who found an older friend slumped beside the bathroom door. The wife who says her husband just didn't wake up the same that day. Couldn't speak properly, couldn't lift his arm. They all say the same thing afterward. But he was fine last night. And that's exactly the problem. Stroke doesn't wait for a bad week. It doesn't show up after months of warning. It often strikes in what feels like perfectly normal mornings. In fact, according to the American Heart Association, more strokes happen between 6 a.m. and noon than at any other time of day. And for adults over 60, that window is even more dangerous. Why? Because your body is vulnerable in the early morning in ways we rarely talk about. Your blood is thicker. Your heart rate is slower. Your joints are stiff. Your brain hasn't received full oxygen flow for hours. And worst of all, the older we get, the harder it is for our bodies to self-regulate those changes upon waking. It's like trying to start a car after sitting in the cold all night, but expecting it to run like it just came off the lot. But here's the truth no one tells you. There's a way to change all that. A simple, science-backed process I've taught thousands of seniors, from my private patients to group workshops to online sessions like this one, that helps you safely reboot your system every morning. It's not medicine. It's not extreme exercise. It doesn't require any equipment. And it only takes 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That's the difference between starting your day groggy, sluggish, and at risk, or alert, balanced, and protected. You see, over the past 25 years, I've tracked a common pattern among those who thrive into their 80s and even 90s. Not just surviving, thriving. These are men and women still driving, still traveling, still dancing. And every single one of them, they have a morning system, not just a cup of coffee and a prayer, but real, intentional habits that align with how the body actually wakes up, especially an older body. And before you think, it's probably too late for me, I want you to hear this loud and clear. It's not. The body wants to heal. The heart wants to pump strong. The brain wants to stay sharp. But you have to meet it halfway. And the best time to do that is when you open your eyes in the morning. That's the moment of decision. Now, I know this might not be the kind of video that gets millions of views. It's not flashy. It's not full of hacks or gimmicks. But if you've made it this far, you're probably one of the few people who actually care enough to act. And that gives me hope. Because if even a few of you watching this take these 5 minutes seriously, just 5 simple, intentional actions each morning, you could radically shift the course of your day, and maybe your life. So if you care about content that's made for people like you, that respects your intelligence and doesn't treat your health like a trend, please subscribe to this channel. It gives us the motivation to keep researching, keep filming, and keep bringing you the real stuff that helps real people. Now, before we get into the step-by-step habits, I want to leave you with something to think about. Question: when you wake up in the morning, what's the very first thing you usually do? A. Get up quickly and head to the bathroom or kitchen. B. Sit still for a few moments and ease into motion. Let me know in the comments. Type A or B below. There's no wrong answer, but your choice might reveal something deeper about how your body is adjusting each morning. Or, if you've ever felt a bit off during your first few minutes out of bed, dizzy, stiff, maybe like your legs weren't fully under you, just type the number 1 in the comments. You're not alone. And now, let me show you how 5 minutes tomorrow morning could be the most important 5 minutes of your week. His name was Richard, 71 years old, a retired high school teacher from Sarasota, Florida. He'd spent over 4 decades standing in front of chalkboards, shaping young minds with patience and wit. To his neighbors, Richard was that cheerful man who still rode his bike to the bookstore and could quote Hemingway at will. But when he came to me, he wasn't smiling. He looked afraid. "I don't know what's happening to me, Dr. Carson," he said. "Every morning feels like I'm climbing a mountain just to get out of bed. I wake up dizzy, like my brain hasn't caught up with my body. My legs feel weak. I've had to sit back down more times than I can count." I remember the way he gripped the edge of the exam table when he said that, as if he was bracing for what might come next. His blood pressure was wildly inconsistent. High in the morning, then normal by noon. He had recently fallen while reaching for his slippers, and the blood work wasn't encouraging. Elevated viscosity, warning signs for potential vascular trouble, early-stage inflammation. "I've always been active," he insisted. "I eat right, I don't smoke, I don't even drink, but I feel like something inside me is shutting down." That last sentence stuck with me. The truth is, Richard was right, and wrong. Something was happening inside him, but it wasn't about decay. It was about neglect. His body was begging for attention at the one time most people ignore it, right after waking up. You see, what Richard didn't realize, and what so many people overlook, is that the body doesn't just turn on like a switch in the morning. It needs guidance. After a long period of rest, everything slows. Blood pools, muscles cool. The brain transitions from deep repair mode to alertness, but that transition is fragile, especially after 60. The symptoms Richard was facing weren't random. They were signals, warnings, and thankfully, they were also reversible. I remember giving Richard a sheet of paper, just one, with 5 bullet points on it. No medication, no complex protocols, just 5 small habits to be done within 5 minutes of waking. That's it. He looked at it skeptically. "This is it?" "Yes," I said. "But you have to do it every morning, without fail. Give it 3 weeks." He nodded slowly, folded the paper, and walked out of my office with a glimmer of something in his eyes. Not hope, not yet, but maybe a willingness to hope. 3 weeks later, Richard came back. This time he was standing taller. His gait was steady, his eyes clearer. "I didn't believe you," he said with a grin, "but it's working." His morning dizziness had lessened. He felt sharper mentally, more grounded physically. He no longer feared getting out of bed. And more importantly, his blood pressure readings were stabilizing. By the 2-month mark, he was down to half his previous medication. His heart rate was steadier. His hands and feet were warmer, a sign of improved circulation. And when his grandkids visited, he could walk with them again without feeling like he needed to sit down every block. But the thing that struck me most wasn't the numbers, though they were impressive. It was what he said during our last session. "You gave me my mornings back," he said, "and with that, you gave me back my confidence." That moment reminded me why I do this work. Too often, we wait until things break to start paying attention. We expect the body to carry us, to adjust, to endure, no matter what. But as we age, the margin for error shrinks. What we ignore becomes what weakens us, and the morning, that tender space between sleep and movement, becomes either a launch pad or a trap. Richard's story isn't rare, it's just rarely told. I've seen hundreds of Richards over the years, men and women who lived responsibly, who did all the right things, and yet still found themselves disoriented by how their mornings betrayed them. But when they added a bit of structure, not pills, not gimmicks, just structure, their lives shifted. Because here's what I've learned after decades in this field. Longevity isn't just about the big things. It's about the first things, the first 5 minutes. That's when you either prepare your body for the day or put it at risk. That's when you either flood your system with support or ask it to fight uphill from the start. That's when you tell your blood how to flow, your brain how to think, your muscles how to protect you. And it doesn't take hours. It doesn't require equipment. It just takes intention. I'm not saying these 5 minutes are a miracle. I'm saying they are the foundation upon which better days and safer mornings are built. Richard's story didn't end with a dramatic transformation. There was no music swell, no standing ovation. It ended with a simple truth. He woke up one morning and didn't feel afraid. He felt steady, clear, ready. That's the kind of ending I want for you too. And maybe, just maybe, it starts tomorrow morning. Let me show you how. When I first began encouraging my older patients to commit to a morning routine, I'll admit I faced a lot of resistance. Most thought it sounded too simple to make a difference. Some thought it sounded like a burden, just one more thing on their to-do list. But every person who actually did it, consistently and with care, came back to me with the same realization. Those 5 minutes changed everything. Over the years, I've refined this system to its essentials. These aren't exercises that require a yoga mat or hours of your morning. They're rooted in science, born out of clinical observation, and, most importantly, tested by real people living real lives. It's 5 minutes. 5 simple, specific actions, done in a certain order, for a reason. This is not a random list of good habits. It's a strategic sequence designed to support your body at its most vulnerable time. Those first waking minutes, when circulation is sluggish, muscles are cold, and the brain is still foggy. The first step is hydration. I tell my patients to prepare it the night before and place it by the bedside. 16 ounces of room temperature water with the juice of a quarter lemon. It sounds small, but it is powerful. During the night, you lose water through breathing and sweating, almost half a liter, even if the room is cool. This leaves your blood more concentrated, your heart working harder to pump, and your brain at a deficit before you even swing your legs off the bed. The lemon isn't there for taste. It offers potassium and vitamin C, which aid in softening the arteries and supporting blood pressure regulation. But even more important than what you drink is when you drink it. I advise doing this within the first minute of waking, before getting up, before coffee, before movement. Think of it as priming the engine. You wouldn't start a car in winter without warming it first. Your body, especially over 60, deserves that same care. The second action is movement. Not a workout, just circulation activation. I tell patients, once you've hydrated, stand next to your bed, feet shoulder-width apart. Inhale deeply through your nose as you raise your arms slowly overhead. Exhale gently through your mouth as you bring them back down. Do this 3 times. Then roll your shoulders back 5 times, forward 5 times. Finally, rise on your toes and lower yourself down slowly. 10 repetitions. This sequence isn't about burning calories. It's about redirecting blood flow. During sleep, blood tends to pool in the lower extremities. Getting it back to the heart and brain is critical. This simple 1-minute movement increases cerebral blood flow significantly, sometimes by over 30%, and that translates to reduced dizziness, greater alertness, and a decreased risk of falls. For someone who's ever blacked out or stumbled after waking, this one practice can be transformative. The third piece is protein. And this is where many people, even health-conscious ones, get it wrong. We've been taught to focus on total daily protein, but few talk about timing. In older adults, the body becomes more catabolic, meaning it starts breaking down muscle for energy, especially after long fasting periods like sleep. By the time you wake up, your body is already tapping into muscle reserves. That's why I recommend consuming a small amount of high-quality protein within 30 minutes of waking. You don't need a chef. It can be as simple as a hard-boiled egg, a scoop of whey protein in water or almond milk, a cup of Greek yogurt, or for plant-based eaters, soft tofu or pea protein. The goal is 25-30 grams. This doesn't just fuel you, it protects your muscle tissue, preserves your strength, and improves metabolic stability for the entire day. I've seen patients slow their muscle loss dramatically with this one change alone. Next is joint activation. It's no secret that stiffness in the morning is more than just discomfort. It's a fall risk. What many people don't realize is that joint fluid thickens during rest. The synovial fluid, which cushions your joints, becomes more viscous after a night of stillness. If you get up and move too quickly, you're putting pressure on joints that haven't been properly relubricated. Over time, this leads to micro-injuries, chronic pain, and increased risk of falls. So here's what I recommend. Still sitting on the edge of the bed, rotate your ankles 10 times each direction. Pull one knee gently to your chest, then the other, 5 times each. Tilt your upper body side to side slowly, then rotate gently left and right. Finally, roll your shoulders backwards again. This entire sequence takes about 90 seconds, but the benefit is enormous. Patients who've had chronic knee or back pain often report reduced stiffness and greater balance, even before stepping into the shower. And finally, the habit most people underestimate: brain activation. This isn't a crossword puzzle or a memory app. It's something much simpler, but deeply neurologically stimulating. I call it reverse recall. Close your eyes, take a breath, and mentally walk through your previous day. But backwards. Start from bedtime. What did you have for dinner? Who did you speak to in the evening? What did you wear in the afternoon? Go back moment by moment. Rewind your day like a movie. This may sound abstract, but it's deeply rooted in neuroscience. The process of reverse recall activates multiple brain regions, enhances short-term memory, and encourages neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire and stay sharp. Clinical studies suggest that seniors who practice this daily experience cognitive retention on par with individuals 10 to 20 years younger. I've had patients cry after doing this for 2 weeks because they could suddenly remember details they thought had slipped forever. Names, conversations, emotions. All retrieved, not by force, but by gentle, daily attention. And that's really what this entire 5-minute ritual is about. Attention. Giving your body and brain the signal that it matters, that you're choosing to support it, not ignore it, that you're not waking up and rushing into a world that expects you to be ready instantly, but instead, setting your own tone, your own pace, your own strength. Because the truth is, aging doesn't take away your power. It only asks you to be more intentional with it. And 5 minutes is all it takes to begin that shift. Not someday, not next month, tomorrow, right after you wake up. I'll be here, guiding you. But this part, the first step, that's yours. Let's take it together. I've always believed that people make better choices when they understand why those choices matter. Not just being told what to do, but being shown in clear and human terms how even the smallest habit can change the inner workings of the body. Because let's face it, it's not enough to say, drink water, or stretch in the morning. We're more likely to act when we grasp what's actually happening beneath the surface. So when I talk about this 5-minute routine, hydration, movement, protein, joint work, and brain activation, it's not just a list of nice ideas. It's a sequence grounded in decades of clinical observation, real patient stories, and science that, frankly, doesn't get talked about enough. Let's start with that first sip of lemon water. What you may not realize is that by the time you wake up, your blood is thicker, more viscous than it was when you went to bed. Why? Because you've gone 7 to 8 hours without fluid, and your body has still been losing water through respiration and sweat. This dehydration doesn't just make you feel groggy. It forces your heart to work harder to push blood through narrowed vessels. That's why the early morning hours are when we see the highest spike in strokes and heart attacks in adults over 60. But here's the beauty of the body. It responds instantly to even small interventions. That glass of room temperature water, especially paired with lemon, begins thinning the blood gently, lowering resistance within the arteries, and nudging your circulation into gear. Harvard cardiologists have spoken to the benefits of early hydration in reducing cardiovascular strain, and I've witnessed firsthand how patients with hypertension and arrhythmia show better morning stability with this one practice alone. Now, let's move to movement. Those 60 seconds of gentle activation beside the bed. What's really happening here? During sleep, your sympathetic nervous system, the system that controls alertness and physical readiness, is largely at rest. When you jolt out of bed too quickly, your body isn't ready to redistribute blood or stabilize posture. That's why many older adults feel dizzy or even faint when standing abruptly. It's not just getting old, it's a physiological mismatch between what your brain demands and what your body is prepared to deliver. By doing a short sequence of deep breaths, arm raises, shoulder rolls, and heel lifts, you're signaling to the brain, wake up, but gently. These movements activate your baroreceptors, sensors in your arteries that help regulate blood pressure, and prime your muscles to balance you more effectively. The Mayo Clinic has published extensively on orthostatic hypotension, that sudden drop in blood pressure when standing, and one of their top non-medication interventions is controlled morning movement. Then there's protein, and this might be the most underestimated piece. The National Institute on Aging has long confirmed what I've seen in practice. As we age, our bodies become less efficient at using the protein we eat. What this means is that when you eat, protein becomes just as important as how much you consume. After a night of fasting, the body, especially in older adults, shifts into a mild catabolic state, meaning it starts breaking down muscle tissue for energy. If you wait until mid-morning or lunchtime to have protein, your body has already begun using itself as fuel. But if you give it 25 to 30 grams of quality protein within the first 30 minutes of waking, you interrupt that process. You preserve muscle. You support your immune system. You maintain strength. Multiple longitudinal studies have shown that seniors who prioritize protein timing retain muscle mass more effectively over 5 to 10 years and maintain their independence longer. What's even more powerful is that this doesn't require a full meal. Just a scoop of protein in almond milk, a few egg whites with a whole egg, or a small serving of Greek yogurt can deliver exactly what your body needs to stay in balance. As for joint activation, the explanation is simple but critical. Your joints are surrounded by a thick fluid called synovial fluid, which acts like motor oil for your body. But like oil in a car that's been sitting overnight, that fluid thickens when you're still for too long. And if you stand or twist or stretch without warming it up first, your joints scrape instead of glide. This friction, repeated day after day, is one of the hidden drivers behind chronic joint pain and degenerative conditions like osteoarthritis. Orthopedic researchers from leading institutions like Johns Hopkins and the Cleveland Clinic emphasize that regular joint lubrication through motion, especially after sleep, is one of the safest and most effective ways to maintain flexibility and reduce wear and tear. So when you rotate your ankles, hug your knees to your chest, or twist gently at the waist before stepping out of bed, you're doing more than loosening up. You're protecting your future mobility. You're reducing fall risk. You're telling your body, I respect your limits, and I want to move with you, not against you. And finally, the brain. The first 30 minutes after waking are what neuroscientists call a neuroplasticity window. This is when your brain is most open to forming new connections, strengthening existing pathways, and adapting to stimulation. But most of us waste this time scrolling on phones or rushing into distraction. That simple reverse recall practice, where you walk yourself mentally through your previous day in reverse, engages multiple regions of the brain, especially those tied to memory, orientation, and emotional processing. It's been shown to increase levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that acts like fertilizer for brain cells. In studies, older adults who practiced daily mental exercises like reverse recall showed slower rates of cognitive decline and, in some cases, even cognitive improvement. Not by doing anything flashy, but by consistently nurturing the brain in those early waking moments. To me, all of this points to one undeniable truth. The body is not passive. It listens to us. It responds. And the signals we send it, especially in those first few minutes of the day, set the tone for everything that follows. You don't need to become someone new. You don't need to master complex routines or chase after youth. You just need to support what's already within you. To wake up, not just physically, but intentionally. Because those 5 minutes are more than just time. They are your body's invitation. And how you respond could be the difference between decline and vitality. And if you're still reading, still listening, I believe you're already choosing wisely. Sometimes what we need most isn't a new prescription or the latest health trend. Sometimes we just need a reminder that change is still possible, that it's not too late to feel strong again, steady again, clear again. I've spent my life in rooms with people who were told their best years were behind them, and I've seen the light in their eyes return the moment they realized that wasn't true. So let me say this plainly. Your body is not broken. It may be tired, it may be slower, but it is still listening. It is still responding, and it is still capable of renewal, with the right signals, at the right time, from the right kind of care. That's what this 5-minute morning routine is really about. Not just habits, not just tasks. It's a message from you to your own body that says, I'm still here. I still believe in what's possible. And I'm going to show up for myself every single morning. When I created this routine, I didn't imagine it would grow beyond my private practice. I simply wanted to help my patients step into each day with less fear, to walk to their bathroom without clutching the walls, to stand in the kitchen and feel alert instead of dizzy, to open the door and feel steady on their feet. And what I learned, after guiding hundreds through these habits, is that change doesn't need to come in waves. It can arrive in drops, one gentle, consistent drop at a time. What I want for you is not perfection. I want presence. I want you to feel the ground under your feet in the morning and trust it. I want you to open your eyes and not dread the stiffness or the fog. I want you to feel like you are participating in your own healing, not waiting for someone else to hand it to you. And I want you to know, you're not doing this alone. There's a community of people, just like you, who are waking up and choosing to care for themselves in small but powerful ways. People who aren't buying into the lie that aging means fading. People who are redefining what strength looks like at 60, 70, even 85, and I want to build that community with you. That's why I'm here, not just as a doctor, but as someone who believes in the dignity of every morning you're given. That's why this channel exists, to serve as a gentle nudge, a practical guide, and a constant reminder that you deserve to feel good in your body again. So if any part of this has resonated with you, if something in your chest stirred while reading these words, if you felt a moment of stillness or a flicker of possibility, I want to ask something of you. Subscribe to this channel. Not because I need numbers, but because it keeps this mission alive. It tells the platforms that content for people over 60 matters. That health advice grounded in science and delivered with heart deserves to be seen. And more than that, comment below. Tell me where you're watching from. Share your age if you feel brave enough. Let me know if you've ever struggled with mornings, if you've ever feared that first step out of bed, or if you've already started some version of these habits. You'd be amazed how powerful it is for someone else, a stranger, perhaps halfway across the world, to read your story and feel less alone. And if there's someone in your life, a parent, a spouse, a friend, who needs this message, who's quietly struggling but hasn't said it out loud, share this video with them. It might be the wake-up call they didn't know they needed, because the truth is, healing doesn't always begin in a hospital. Sometimes it begins with a conversation, with a story, with a decision to try something new just for one morning. And when that morning comes, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next, I hope you'll remember what you've learned here. I hope you'll wake with curiosity instead of fear. And I hope you'll take 5 minutes for yourself. Not for me, not for anyone else, but because your future is worth it. Thank you for letting me walk with you through this. It's been an honor. Now, the rest is up to you. The next step is yours. And I'm cheering for you every single morning. As we come to the close of this conversation, I want to leave you with a simple but profound thought. Your mornings are more than just the start of a day. They are the foundation for your health, your independence, and your joy in living. What you do in those first few moments after waking isn't just routine. It's a powerful act of self-care that signals your body to prepare for strength, clarity, and resilience. Throughout my years as a physician specializing in the care of older adults, I've witnessed firsthand how small, consistent habits can profoundly alter the course of aging. The 5-minute morning routine we discussed isn't about perfection or complexity. It's about intention. It's about honoring the fact that your body and brain need gentle awakening, hydration, nourishment, and mental engagement to function optimally. These practices aren't just theory. They are supported by solid scientific research and, more importantly, real stories from people like Richard who reclaimed their mornings and, with them, a better quality of life. The lesson here is that aging is not synonymous with decline. Your body has an incredible capacity for healing and adaptation, even after 60, 70, or beyond. But it requires signals that come from consistent care and respect for its needs. Taking 5 intentional minutes each morning to hydrate, move, nourish, activate your joints, and engage your mindsets a positive trajectory for your entire day, and, cumulatively, your life. Applying this lesson is both simple and transformative. Tomorrow morning and every morning after that, commit to these 5 minutes. Prepare your hydration the night before. Move gently but purposefully. Feed your muscles early. Loosen your joints slowly. Sharpen your mind with intention. Doing so is a gift you give yourself, an investment in continued independence and vitality. It's not about grand gestures, but small, consistent choices that affirm you deserve to feel strong and clear every day. I invite you now to pause and reflect. What is one small action you can commit to tomorrow morning that will signal to your body that you value your health and well-being? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective might inspire others in this community who are walking the same path. If you found value in this video and want to support more content like this, content grounded in science and empathy, please consider subscribing to the channel. Your subscription helps us reach more people who deserve to know these truths. And if you feel moved to help sustain this work, there is an option to donate. Every contribution fuels our ability to create practical, life-changing advice for seniors worldwide. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for taking these steps toward a healthier, more vibrant life. I'm honored to be part of your journey.